themesh.tv, an online network of original free audio and video shows based out of Western North Carolina, reaching the entire world. Listen and watch through iTunes or through the website themesh.tv.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the RealTailgate.com College Football Hangout. This is a Google Hangout sponsored by Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. I'm your host, Big J. Waldo. Ben Swain is in our producer's chair. And the folks over at Talking Moose Media have our back on the technical side. You can join us every Wednesday right here, live at 9:30 p.m. as Ben, myself, and a rotating set of panelists discuss college football here in North Carolina. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue, and they want me to remind you it's just not a tailgate without the barbecue. You can log on to realtailgate.com for special offers, a list of locations, archived editions of this hangout, and you can download the increasingly popular realtailgate.com college football podcast. Just a little side note before we get started tonight. Our technical folks at Talking Moose have advised us that Google may be doing some maintenance, so if there's any kind of hitch, please forgive us. We'll try and work through it. This week on the show, we of course have the ever lovely, the scrumptious Ben Swain. We have the somewhat narrower field Matt Purdy. He's either decided to reject the conformity of the hangout, or he's not technically gifted. We have a newcomer, Ryan Tice from the Wolfpacker. Oh, I forgot, Matt. I was too busy making fun of you to plug scacchoops.com. But again, back to our newcomer, Ryan Tice from the Wolfpacker. It's a pleasure to have you, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Back again is Shane Ryan from Grantland.
Wonderful to be here, and may I suggest that I think Matt is a character from a Tim Burton movie this week.
It's weird how
this week
keep getting narrower
just this
wider
week.
Every time he pops up on my screen. It's kind of freaking me out. Last but certainly not least, back again is Sean Crest from Bottom of the Pile Podcast. How's everybody doing?
All right. I'd just like to warn you that Shane's also having some maintenance issues this week, so we might have to lose him for a while.
That's right.
That's quite enough from you, sir. We do not need to go into specifics. This is a
now, I'm not going to help with that
chat.
I wouldn't ask anybody to bear with us on that. So, great weekend of college football. Anybody have a favorite game?
How about Thursday night?
How about it? Who's excited?
Is there a game tomorrow? Yeah, what's tomorrow? I didn't know there was anything going on.
Is it a Maction game tomorrow night? Is that what we got going on?
I was curious. Where is it?
I think it's Northern Illinois, right?
Waldo, you're wearing an NC State shirt right now, and you're going to ask where the game is tomorrow night?
Booyah. I was trying to elicit some responses. This is kind of dead so far. I don't want to die on air, even though it may improve ratings.
Somebody take your shirt off quick.
No, that won't help ratings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, NC State, Clemson, the elephant in this room. What do we think?
Like, who's going to win?
No, just what are your thoughts about the game?
Yeah, I've seen Clemson play a couple times this year, and I think they're slightly better than Richmond. So I think that they're probably going to win the game tomorrow night.
I don't know, man. The Pack's going to be up.
But I mean, it's in our best interest to just get destroyed, apparently. So, I mean.
Yeah, so that reference.
Getting right into it.
Yeah, of course, is from an article. What is this electronic rag here? I'm just kidding. The Rocky Mount Telegram. I don't know if this guy writes specifically for them.
I think it was an actual telegram.
Say what?
Yeah, it's the last newspaper written in a telegram format.
Delivered by the Pony Express.
Yeah, there's the word stop is the most common word except before.
NC State lose, stop. Better for ACC, stop. That's the gist of the article. This guy's saying that NC State should not only just lose but kind of roll over. I don't have any illusions about this game, but the idea of sort of hoping that the other team will trounce you by 50-plus for the long-term benefit of the league sort of is a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I mean, that if I guess the argument is that would ruin Clemson's national title hopes, but that's not on the conference if they lose this game coming up. That's on Clemson. That's on the school.
I agree 100% with that statement. It's about your school winning, right?
Yeah, I mean, why can't NC State aim to be the best team in the conference in the long run? And this game, winning this game would obviously help that with recruiting, coaching, confidence, everything. So I mean, there's literally no reason to want to just get your butt kicked up and down the field. And I mean, yeah, there's some merit to conference loyalty, but not nearly to that extent.
Yeah, I was dismayed and shocked and scandalized by this article. I think it's just a ridiculous notion that NC State owes some kind of allegiance to a conference. I mean, what is a conference really but a group of initials in the end? And it's so silly that they should lose this game. I mean, loyalty to a conference, that's just insane. I mean, it's like loyalty belongs to your school, not to something that could transform next year.
Yeah.
There's two things at play here, guys. One was his ridiculous notion that NC State should be happy with a loss because it helps them in the long run. That's completely inaccurate. Now, the flip side of that is if you're talking about someone who's not an NC State fan and not a Clemson fan, it is absolutely 100% accurate to say it's better for the ACC if Clemson wins this game than NC State. But that's not true for State fans, and I cannot believe that he would even begin to insinuate that State fans should somehow feel like they should feel bad for hoping their team wins tomorrow night. That's insane.
I would like to see them explain it to the recruits who are there tomorrow night. Like, look, here's the thing. We're going to lose this game on purpose, but it's better for the long run for our school because of conference affiliation, so you should still come here, even though Clemson might be recruiting you too.
Yeah, I don't think NC State fans have to root against their team. I just think that NC State has to lose this game. I think that NC State ruined everything last year. Their ACC was no longer a national issue after they beat Florida State last year. I think NC State, they can play them close. I don't agree that they have to get blown out, but they absolutely have to lose this game. Clemson's untouchable this year. Florida State's untouchable, and then they'll play to decide who comes out of that. That's the one game that one of them could lose is when they play each other. And on the other side, I think Georgia Tech has made themselves untouchable, and Miami. Nobody can beat any of those four teams, and they'll decide amongst themselves. Those are the teams we're pushing this year. If you want to be an elite conference, I think that's the way it has to go.
I would say including each other. I think when they play each other, they should tie. So there's no way. Maybe all four of them can meet for the national title in the end.
Right. And I don't think it's a long-range benefit either because it's an immediate benefit because you get that BCS money. So you get a share of that. So if we get as many teams as possible in there, then it's going to benefit NC State in the short run as well as the long run.
But are we not going to get BCS money if State wins this game?
Oh, you get one BCS game.
You get one. You
two.
Get two.
I mean, there is hard financial evidence that it's bad for the ACC if State wins this game. Again, I'm not saying it's bad for State fans if State wins this game. It's great for State fans, but it's bad for the league as a whole if NC State wins this game. As Sean said, and he's spot on, those four teams need to carry the flag for the ACC this year, hands down.
To me, that's like saying, well, look, the U.S. is at war with Afghanistan now, but when alien planets look at us, they're going to want to see some strength from other parts of the world. So we should let this Middle Eastern country win the war, because if they see the U.S. dominating everything, they're not going to take us seriously. I don't know.
Well, my thing is, should Clemson really be competing for the national title if they can't beat this State team?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, to be honest, are they going to beat South Carolina at the end of the season? Dabo Swinney hasn't really had much success against Spurrier.
That's what I'm saying. If the argument is it's best for Clemson to get to the national title game, I think Florida State's got an easier path to the national title game. They're more likely to be undefeated and in position to get there. So,
yeah, their best non-conference game left, I think, is Florida, and I think they're markedly better than Florida is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still good for the ACC if Clemson wins, and I will never argue that. But I mean, they still got to win the rest of these games, and Clemson's known to lose a random game, whether it's the state or it's at Maryland or wherever. But they still got to try to run the table.
I mean, so what's the argument here? Are we trying to latch on to the idea of Clemsoning and just bring that up for conversation's sake? I don't get the point of this conversation.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if we're saying that it's good for the ACC for Clemson to beat NC State, well, wouldn't it? Because everyone's saying because that's gonna, if they lose, they're not going to get to the national title game. Well, shouldn't we say it's best for the team with the easiest road to the national title game then?
So we're talking Clemson versus Florida State? Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's in terms of the league here, and I'd like to hear Sean chime in on this since he's the one that brought it up. Stature plays a big role in this, right? And Florida State and Clemson are two nationally relevant programs. I think it's 6-1, half dozen the other, which team represents the ACC. But the point is, the worst thing that can happen is Clemson goes in and loses tomorrow night, and then Clemson beats Florida State in Death Valley. Then we've got one BCS team, and we've done nothing as a league in terms of raising our stature.
That's exactly right, and they both need to win out, other than against each other. And somebody mentioned, well, they're not. What if they can't compete for the national title? They don't need to compete for the national title. They just need to play for it, get the check, cash the check, and that's fine. Notre Dame got plenty of benefit, and they didn't compete for the national title after they got to the game last year. Same thing here. We saw it last weekend in the Mayweather fight. You prop them up. You prop them up so they can get the big payday. That's what we need to do with these elite teams in the ACC this year. Don't mess up their season. Let them get there, and then they'll see how they do on their own.
So you are actually seriously arguing that they should lose on purpose? or is there a grin behind that?
There might be a little bit of a grin behind that, but yeah, there's worse things than losing on purpose. Again, they can play them tight. They can impress the recruits by giving them something to worry about, but then they need to go Panthers in the end and preserve that perfect record.
I would like it if Swafford was sort of like this evil genius who was plotting everything. You know, he contacted Doran.
He isn't?
Well, sure, right. This takes it to the next step. You know, when he contacts Doran before the game's like, listen, coach, if it's close in the fourth quarter, you are not winning that game. You know, just really, really intense.
Do the Buffalo
My question, how far does this extend? I mean, should Duke start losing to State on a regular basis so State can build a better basketball program?
State is irrelevant. That's not the point. And Matt brought up the point. Like, isn't it?
Pick a team.
It's got to be the marquee teams that actually carry weight nationally, which is a very small group of teams in terms of football in the ACC. I think basketball is a little bit different, but in football, it's a small group of teams that carry that weight.
Those teams don't change. You know, you don't get change over time by those teams just getting other teams to lay down in front of them.
Tell that to David Cutcliffe, Waldo. 6-7 last year. Look at the numbers. They don't lie.
The Tailgate Special from Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. It's 8 pieces of chicken, a pint of barbecue, any 2 sides, 2 dozen hush puppies, and a whole gallon of tea. Just go to realtailgate.com for details, coupons, and a list of locations that open early on game day.
So my question to Sean and Ben is, obviously you think this helps less than Clemson winning, but isn't it a good thing for the ACC for one of the considered mid to lower level teams in the conference can rise up and beat the number 3 team in the country?
The worst thing ever to happen in the history of the ACC was Wake Forest winning the championship.
Yep.
That was the worst thing ever. There's nothing worse that's happened than that. Not even bringing in Miami to the league. Listen, guys, I'm a Duke fan. I'm a Duke fan, right? I'm watching the Duke football team every week as a fan, and I'm saying it would be the worst thing if they won out and went to Charlotte and somehow ended up in the Orange Bowl. be the worst thing.
All right, let me ask Ben this question. Was there part of you last week, I know you're a Duke fan, we're all Duke fans here, all of us. We got 7 Duke fans in here. No, but was there part of you that was like, saw Lavadier Lee come back to his hometown and put on a great show for the home folks? Was there a part of you that was gratified at that, even though Duke lost?
I mean, I call him Vad because I'm from Durham, so I can call him Vad instead of Lavadier.
I just think it's such a euphonious name. I like to say it. It just rolls off the tongue.
No, I mean from like a city pride standpoint. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, or just like a personal, like, oh, good for that kid. He's a Durham kid and made good.
Yeah, he's a really good player, and I like good players. But I mean, I don't feel any different for him than I do watching like Duke Johnson play. I just enjoy watching those guys play football.
All right, so let me put it to you this way: the 2 scenarios you can have are either Vadley and Georgia Tech win, or Duke wins but Vadley breaks a leg. Which one are you taking? How deep does your loyalty go?
I don't want a dude to break his leg, right?
So you'd allow Georgia Tech to beat Duke?
I don't want the guy to break his leg.
Good. All right. Good. I wanted to see how deep the loyalty was.
It's terrible.
So fail out of school. Substitute something more palatable.
He grows a third leg that inhibits his football.
Oh, dear. Editor!
That's exactly what my editors say. They call for other editors. It's amazing.
Okay, so next game, Georgia Tech has had a pretty easy time with teams from North Carolina this year.
Here's an interesting thing about that. Sorry to keep babbling. I think I've taken my turn many times over. But the spread, I think, is 6.5 right now. And I'm in this college football pool, and a few people brought that up. Like, what's the deal with the spread? UNC can't defend the run. It's down in Georgia Tech. It's in North Carolina, right? Or where is the game?
No, it's at Tech.
It's in Atlanta.
Yeah. So it's down there, and they can't defend the run. What's the philosophy behind the spread? It seems off, but Vegas is always right, so I feel weird questioning them.
I guess we need Goodson on the phone for this.
Yeah, we need some gambling degenerates on here. I don't know. Do you guys follow the spreads at all?
Let me just forget the spreads. But do you really think Georgia Tech will either win this game by less than 6 or lose?
No, I don't think there's any chance. I think Georgia Tech wins by a couple dozen. I don't think this game will be close.
Plus, I heard Larry Fedora is going to be recruiting in Atlanta on Friday, so his mind's obviously not on the game. So. Yeah.
Well, he's like Saban. He's like Saban. Those darn games just cost him recruiting time. They're the worst.
Guy drinks 8 Red Bulls a day, man. He's
9, not.
Was it 9?
He forgot his own birthday. That was true. You didn't hear that about Saban? He was like, there was some story in the story where he's like, oh, my wife woke me up and said, it's your birthday. And I was like, oh, I forgot. And it's like, I hate you, Saban.
That would never happen to Mark Gottfried. His wife wakes him up.
No, he thinks it's his birthday on days that it's not at all. Way too common.
So not only is the spread 6.5, but the over is 60.
Oh, over! My God.
Yeah, way over.
That'll be over.
Both teams were over by themselves last year.
Yeah, it'll be the 90s.
Vegas is just giving away money on this game, I guess.
Yeah, so Vegas's ideal score is like 34-28, roughly. That's what they think. That seems crazy to me. I don't think UNC will stay that close.
That has a 3% chance of happening, I think.
I mean, I feel so confident that that's not happening. If I win $400 million tonight in the lottery, I will then bet all of that money on the
game. Lottery winner blows it all in a record 2 hours.
Let it ride.
I can't wait for that 30 for 30.
Yeah. That $400 million was burning a hole in his pocket.
So has anyone seen the state Clemson line? Is it still over 14? That's what last I saw it was like 14.5.
Last I saw it was 13.5, but I don't know if it's.
Oh, has it gone down? I figured it would go down. I just thought that was a lot.
I think State could get a backdoor cover on that one if it's 14.5, but I don't think they come within 2 touchdowns.
No, yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It started so high. I thought over two touchdowns was a lot.
It opened at 13 and it's at 13.5 right now.
Okay.
Oh, it opened at 13?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I had bad info.
Well, it depends on where you
It
play.
depends on where you look.
Yeah.
True.
I just texted my bookie and
I heard Clemson's building a ramp so Dabo Swinney will have something to run down on the field. It's just what I heard. It's just a rumor at this point. It was such an effective ploy against Georgia that I think they're going to go back to the well. Really good joke. Yeah, way to leave me hanging, guys, after that awesome joke.
We're stunned silence.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody watching. That was terrible. I'm in the spotlight. Oh, boy.
I just took a moment to reflect on the opportunity I'm having to be in the same chat with you.
Oh, you're welcome, I guess.
I was counting my $800 million that I'm going to have.
That way, if State wins, you'd be able to help fund the league.
All right, Ben, your two choices are you win $400 million and Vadley breaks his leg, or Vadley doesn't break his leg and you're poor and miserable like now. What do you take?
Sorry, Vad. I'm taking the cash.
Well You'll kick down a little for his broken leg, won't you?
Exactly.
Yeah, you know when Ben wins that money, he's going to be like, actually, that's kind of on him. I don't
Let's go get you a new leg, pal.
I would take all that money and actually start a rental car business for college athletes.
Nice.
I've heard that's pretty lucrative around here.
I would go stand in the stream of students outside the athletes' cafeteria and just hand wads of cash to random students that were not athletes.
Yeah, but you do that now, Waldo.
Well, that makes everything else okay then, right? If non-athletes getting paid.
All right.
So who else plays it? Wake plays Army this weekend in a game that I'm sure will capture the nation's attention.
If the United States Army can't beat Wake, I'm fleeing to a different country for my own protection. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Sean, how jealous is Jim Grobe going to be watching Army run the option?
Oh, that's right. But that's the same thing. The same thing as State has to lose, Wake Forest has to lose big to the Army to send a message to Syria.
Yeah, that's right. If Assad sees that thing, Wake Forest, he's actually going to invade us. It's going to be really
bad.
What about the Duke game?
Duke and Pitt? I honestly don't know the first thing about Pitt. I saw them play against Florida State, and that just looked like a 7-on-7 drill where Jameis Winston was, I believe unofficially he was 75 of 76 passing in that game.
That's right.
That's pretty good.
How long is Boone out, Ben?
Indefinitely.
This Knet, do you worry? I mean, he really can't pass that well. I mean, do you worry teams are just going to crowd the line? I mean, it seems like Duke's offense is kind of hamstrung.
I'd put 11 guys in the box against Duke. That's how I'd beat Duke right now. I don't know. I mean, Sean covers the team more than I do. I'd be interested to hear what he has to say. But yeah, Knet is not very good as a quarterback.
Yeah, I was surprised at how slow his decision making was on Saturday because the times that he's been in limited time. It seems like, he's a fast runner. He's fast on his feet. He seems to come in and bring them energy. But when he had the show from the beginning, I mean, you could time him with an hourglass back there, and he just didn't seem to make the decisions as fast as, definitely not as fast as Renfrey last year, and not even as fast as Boone had been making them. And that's why he struggled so much, is that it just took a while to read the play and decide what to do.
It's fun. I mean, we made fun of NC State's quarterback situation earlier in the year, but they've had the first guy goes down, the second guy comes in, and it's not all that bad, right, guys?
Well, Pete Thomas actually has what sounds like he has the exact opposite problem of Knet. He stands in the pocket for about 1 second before he's running for his life. I don't know if he just watched too much Mike Glennon last year, knowing that he was, he needs to be able to move in a hurry, but that's been kind of one of his big weaknesses is as soon as he steps back and one read's not open, he's booking it, and that's clearly not one of his strengths. I mean, beyond that, his completion percentage is good. I think it's like 63 or something like that, but he still hasn't thrown a touchdown pass.
Yeah, his completion percentage is good. His yards per attempt is pretty good right now. But he's had those turnovers, and his turnovers have just been killer. They've come at really inopportune times.
Yeah, he threw one late in the Richmond game that he tried to step into a throw, and it was just way underthrown. But it sounds like he's kind of got the opposite problems of Kennett to me.
Now, so let's talking about Duke, Ben. Like, and Sean too. What's the deal with the depth chart here? Don't they have any young guys they can throw in? I mean, obviously it'd be trial by fire, but I mean, at least you have somebody maybe who can pass.
Well, the number two guys out for the year. I'll let Sean talk. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, he's got Parker Bohm, who's a true freshman. That he's going to end up burning the red shirt at some point. We kind of expected it during the Georgia Tech game. And his reasoning after the game was, well, we're only going to get 10 possessions against Georgia Tech, and I didn't want to essentially waste one on the freshman. But he wants to get Bohm into the game to get him some reps before Kennett loses a helmet or something like that, and Bohm has to go in anyway. So the plan is to burn the red shirt possibly as soon as this week to get him some reps to see how he looks. And he's similar to the Boone Kennett mold, where he's mobile, but I think he has a better arm than either of those two. I think eventually he's going to be better than either of those two are. His upside is higher, but this year is going to be a learning experience for him. And he was hoping to have him sit out for the year, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
And Shane, the other issue is that the number 2 coming into the year was blanking on his name right now, Thomas Sirk.
Thomas Sirk.
Yeah. He's out with an Achilles injury, so Connett's actually the third option, and he's the starting guy right now. So there's not a whole lot.
Did that Achilles injury have anything to do with a bet you made, or that you took one half of something in return for his Achilles hurt?
Yeah, Ben matched 5 numbers, and then he blew out his Achilles the next day.
Yeah, has Ben had any good fortune lately? Because we can look.
No. And I think Hud Mellencamp is the 5th string quarterback. I think.
Yeah, Hud just wants to get out there and hit someone. So
he'll be able to roll with the punches.
Literally, that's all he can do is roll once he's been punched. That's his only move.
All right, guys, we burned up a lot of time, and before we go, let's kind of mix in a topic and a parting shot. As your parting shot, let's say, this story about the Nebraska coach that he basically told his players not to worry about the fans, but in not so pretty language. Which ACC coach do you think is the most likely to feel that way about their fans? Sean?
Jimbo Fisher, Florida State.
All right. Shane?
I'm going to go with Frank Beamer because his fans are probably always knocking down his door for running water. And so he, it's got to be annoying after a while. Come on, guys.
Ryan?
Maybe Jim Grobe. I was kind of blanking when you asked the question on the email earlier, but Jim Grobe, he's on the hot seat, so sure, why not?
Okay. Matt?
I'm going to say Dave Doran because he kind of already has after the first game. So that's what I think. That's the safest answer there.
Okay. And Ben?
I'm going to say Cutcliffe to the useless Duke student body that thinks they're just above cheering for the football team.
Once again, you're ignoring the key tradition, Ben, the proud tradition of ringing keys on kickoffs. This resonates through Wallace Wade.
That's because they're comparing Lexuses and BMWs and seeing which one's nicer.
Yeah.
They don't actually have keys for their cars, right? It's just a fob that you walk near the car.
They've never seen the keys because the servants always drive.
Yeah, the driver.
Shane was an undergrad at Duke, so I'm surprised he knows any Duke football traditions.
No, I accidentally watched it on TV once. It was horrible. Horrible. Horrible 3 minutes.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. It's been a good show. Thanks, everybody. Also, thanks again to our sponsors, Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. I'm going to say that again for practice. Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. They're our sponsors. They want to make sure you know it's just not a tailgate without the barbecue. Go ahead and check out realtailgate.com. The college football podcast is available there. It's also available on the mesh.tv and on iTunes. I'm your host, Jay Waldo. For our producer, Ben Swain, and myself, thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
The Tailgate Special from Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. It's 8 pieces of chicken, a pint of barbecue, any 2 sides, 2 dozen hush puppies, and a whole gallon of tea. Just go to realtailgate.com for details, coupons, and a list of locations that open early on game day.
The Mesh.tv, an online network of original free audio and video shows based out of Western North Carolina, reaching the entire world. Listen and watch through iTunes or through the website themesh.tv.